Because Brian Low was pursuing other adventures during production, his journal is narrated by his puzzle buddy, Becky. On September 1st, Brian and I both drove our cars down to Whitney Portal. We arrived there about 2 p.m. We left my car there, drove back to Mammoth in Brian's SUV, checked into the Motel 6, had a nice swim, and then a tri-tip dinner, a good night's sleep.
Day 1. Started our adventure at the Duck Pass trailhead near Mary Lake after a hearty breakfast at the stove in Mammoth. Got a nice couple to take a picture of our clean, fresh, before hiking look. Hit the trail at 8:40 a.m. and immediately began a gradual, moderate ascent past 2 pretty lakes, Arrowhead and Skelton, to Duck Pass at 10,797 feet. Chatted with a 6-person Sierra Club group on their way to Mosquito Flat. Covered the 4.7 miles to the pass in 2 hours. Treated to a beautiful view at the pass of Pica and Huge Duck Lake. Descended to meet up with the JMT, and at Purple Lake had our submarine sandwich and apple lunch, the last real food we should have. The final climb to our first night's camp at Virginia Lake on a full stomach was not any fun. Set up camp in a grove of white bark pine with a nice view of the lake surrounded by rubble-strewn peaks. Day 2. After breaking camp, started hiking a little after 8 o'clock. The trail was gentle and smooth down to Tolly Hole and then paralleled Pretty Fish Creek. Crossed a bridge and began a gentle climb up a shaded canyon and continued on a good dirt trail to the top of Silver Pass at 10,895 feet. Got windy on the descent and had to put on a long-sleeve shirt. After passing through a large meadow, was surprised by how steep and rocky the final descent into Pocket Meadow was. Pocket Meadow is a misnomer. It's more of a green wooded ravine sitting in a narrow canyon. Found a very nice campsite between 2 small streams. Had an early dinner as it got dark quickly. Day 3. Despite an early 8 a.m. start, I was immediately delayed as my boot got wet crossing the stream from camp and had to stop and put on dry socks. Then got a big scare on the 1,000+ foot descent to Quail Meadow. Left knee ached with every step I took. Had visions of the pain worsening and not being able to continue. Fortunately, the pain subsided and then disappeared as the trail leveled off. Crossed over the Mono Creek Bridge and started up the steep 2,000+ feet climb of Bear Ridge. Trail consisted of continual set of switchbacks up the canyon and was very smooth. It crisscrossed the stream and was nicely shaded by the trees and lush foliage, including a beautiful stand of aspen. The steep climb must have taken a toll, as my pace for the last 4.8 miles after lunch slowed considerably. Then, less than half a mile from our planned campsite, I lost the trail. After looking at the map, decided to ford the stream and search for the trail on the other side. Found no evidence of a trail on the other side and ended up recrossing the stream by shimmying on my backside on a log 4 feet above the stream. Luckily, rediscovered the trail just as Dick came back down the trail looking for me. The last straw was having to remove my boots to ford the stream at the proper crossing. In retrospect, what I should have done when I first lost the trail was to backtrack until I relocated the trail. Must have been lucky the first 2 nights not to have any mosquitoes. Tonight they were out in force at our camp in Upper Bear Creek Meadow. Quickly set up camp, had dinner, and retreated to the tent. Day 4. After a good night's sleep, we're on the trail by 7:30 a.m. Gee, we are starting earlier and earlier. It's a gradual, steady grade on a good trail up to Selden Pass at 10,880 feet. On the way, past beautiful Rosemarie Meadow and then Marie Lake, with Mount Senger as a backdrop. Marie Lake looks like 2 separate lakes because of the isthmus in its middle, and its shoreline has many inlets. Saw a great place to camp on a low bench overlooking the lake. Would provide an unbelievable panorama. Spectacular view from the pass back down on Marie Lake. In my opinion, this is the prettiest view of the entire JMT. The descent from the pass is graded nicely and smooth and almost as scenic. The trail passes by Hart Lake and goes between the 2 Sally Keys lakes. On the way down, met Joey and Jem, a couple on a day hike from Muir Trail Ranch. She's wearing a Tahoe Rim trail shirt, having completed that circuit this past year, and has recommendations on how best to hike that trail in style and comfort. Git will be very interested in this. They hope that we can join them for dinner at Muir Ranch tonight. The last 2,000 feet of descent in 2 miles is quite steep, and I'm taking it pretty slowly to avoid putting undue pressure on my knee. Arrive at Muir Ranch around 2:15 and the knee feels fine. After retrieving our 5-gallon cache of food, conclude that we have too much food, i.e. weight, and decide to jettison what we consider extra. Judging by the barrels of abandoned food in the locker, we are not the only ones who have done this. Tomorrow will be a challenge as our packs will be very full and heavy, 45+ pounds. Met Marcia and Mike from Alaska who are doing the entire JMT. They are traveling ultra-light without a tent and stove and so far averaging 17 miles a day. Inquiring as to whether we can purchase dinner at the ranch, we are told no. Individual meals are not available. However, for a mere $115, we can spend the night. For that, we would get 3 meals, dinner, breakfast, lunch, a bed in a tent cabin, use of all facilities, read shower and toilet, and access to their hot tub fed by natural hot springs. Dick and I thought about it for a nanosecond and signed up. Washing up and then soaking in the hot tub felt so good. And the meals were delicious. Dinner included green salad, 2 kinds of grilled squash, baby carrots, marinated tomatoes, corn fritters, spinach turkey casserole, and strawberry shortcake for dessert. Breakfast consisted of cereals, strawberries, blackberries, yogurt, French toast, and sausage. We even got to make a bag lunch for the trail. The meals were delicious. As an added bonus, we got to wash our clothes in an old wringer tub. Day 5. Got up early, retrieved our mostly dried clothes and stuffed bear canisters, packed up, had our last real meal, made use of the facilities one last time, and were on the trail before 8 a.m. Not sure whether it was having real food, soaking in hot springs, or sleeping in a real bed, but despite our heavy packs, made excellent time up the South Fork of the San Joaquin River to the junction of Evolution Creek. Crossed the river 3 times on well-constructed bridges before breaking for lunch.
I'd say that I had spring.
Afterwards, climbed the steep ascent into Evolution Valley. Had to remove our boots to ford Evolution Creek. The combination of heavy packs, steep ascent, and longest day so far of 12.5 miles took its toll, and arrived tired at our planned campsite 2 miles beyond McClure Meadow around 3:45. Camp is right under the Hermit Peak at the end of Evolution Valley. Our 10 days' worth of food won't all fit in our bear canisters, so had to hang some of our food in a tree for the first time. Should sleep well tonight. Day 6. Awoke just as the sky began to lighten. The tent a little damp and frost on the ground. Another early start, 7:20 a.m., to immediately tackle 1,000+ feet of switchbacks. Caught the sunrise over the Glacier Divide and Mount Goethe. Looking down into Evolution Lake, surrounded on all sides by 12,000-foot peaks, is a beautiful sight. Sapphire Lake's color is true to its name, and the water in Wanda Lake is absolutely clear. On the final climb to Muir Pass, at 11,955 feet, the outline of the stone Muir hut at the summit is very prominent against the horizon. Reached the top at 12:45 and had lunch inside the hut. The view south from the pass isn't as scenic as to the north, as it is mostly rock debris with major patches of snow. The steep 2,755-foot descent from the pass is long, slow, and mostly over loose rock such that you have to carefully watch your every step. Negotiated first snowfield crossing. As 5 o'clock drew near, called it a day short of our planned camp at Big Pete Meadow. Had to really hustle to set up camp and prepare dinner before darkness fell. Another mosquito-intensive sight. Day 7. Rose in the dark as camp is in a deep canyon. Felt good as each morning one gets a sense of renewal. On the trail by 7 o'clock as we needed to make up for stopping short of planned destination yesterday. Turned out that was by less than 1/2 mile. Made good time as we descended into picturesque Little Peat Meadow. Treated to seeing the first rays of sun striking the tops of Langley Peak and the Citadel. Continued to follow the middle fork of Kings River down into the widening LeConte Canyon, ending at Tranquil Grouse Meadow. Turned east and followed Palisade Creek, gently climbing through a burnt-out section of forest towards Deer Meadow. Made good time covering 10 miles to the mouth of the precipitous rocky gorge at the head of the valley. After stopping for lunch, ascended the gorge over talus and at the base of a steep, impassable cliff, followed the trail up the Golden Staircase. A series of ledges cut into the rock. Following the 2,600 plus feet climb, past Lower Palisade Lake and decided to push on to Upper Palisade Lake. Was surprised to find the trail climbed high above the lake. Luckily, found a great campsite next to a stream flowing down to and overlooking the lake. Camp is at highest elevation, 10,600 so far. Covered almost 13 miles today. Day 8. Cold night. Woke up to frost on the tent and packs and decided to sleep in until light. Bundled up and on the trail by 7:50 as the sun had not yet risen high enough to reach the canyon floor. First half of the 1,400 plus foot climb to Mather Pass at 12,100 feet was gradual, the last passing through rock-strewn debris. Made the pass in less than 2 hours and celebrated with a second breakfast. Stunning view south into Upper Basin, with high, rugged peaks completely encompassing a bowl devoid of vegetation. My kind of descent, smooth trail down a set of switchbacks. Wind picked up and for the first time saw clouds. Clouds increased and got darker and temperature rapidly dropped. Expecting thunder showers, was surprised to see snowflakes. Quickly put on foul weather gear and hoped not to get too wet before getting to planned destination, Lake Marjorie, located at the base of large moraine field at 11,132 feet elevation. Lucked out as snow never really got heavy nor turned to rain. Set up camp in a grove of white bark pine overlooking the lake. Day 9. Wind howled all night as if in anticipation of a storm. Woke to clear skies but very cold temperatures. Got a very early 7:15 start before the sun was up, dressed in every bit of clothes available. The sun reflecting off the iron oxide-covered Mount Ickes was a magnificent sight. Moderate grade ascent to Pinchot Pass at 12,130 feet, arriving by 8:35. View south from the pass similar to Upper Basin, except more green and with more ponds. Although a very steep descent of Talus Cliff, smooth surface switchbacks made it not too difficult. Wind picked up halfway down and temperature dropped. At the bottom of 3,600 plus feet descent, crossed Woods Creek on a spectacular free-swinging wood and wire suspension bridge. Had to continually keep moving in order to maintain your balance. Reminded me of rock hopping. Took a longer than usual lunch break to wash some clothes in the swift-flowing creek. Hard afternoon climb up Baxter Creek, beyond Dollar Lake, and onto Arrowhead Lake at 10,292 feet. Finally stopping around 5 o'clock to set up camp. Had gone almost 13 miles and both of us were very tired. In addition, I got the runs and decided to skip dinner, settling just for some soup. After taking some anti-diarrhea pills, hit the sack early, hoping this clears up and doesn't impact the rest of the trip. Day 10. Thankfully, stomach settled down and got a good night's sleep. Woke up to a very cold temperature and frozen water bottles. Despite being an easy grade and dressed warmly, had a difficult time getting loose and into a good hiking rhythm. Trail bisected the two Ray Lakes and sun finally came out as trail began to sharply ascend. Amazing final climb to summit of Glen Pass at 11,978 feet.
I would have said impossible, impossible for me.
Looking up at the remaining 1,000 feet to the top of the pass, can't see the trail. Somehow a series of switchbacks have been cut straight up the rocky face. Trail very steep but very well graded. On the way up was passed by a mule pack train supporting a group of hikers also doing the Muir Trail. Was amazed to discover the cost was $5,000 per person. Descent from the pass went through very barren terrain, mostly rocky moraine. Dick's stomach began bothering him, but it then seemed to subside. After the descent to Vedette Meadow, climbed up to Center Basin Trailhead and our campsite at 10,600 feet. For the first time, decided to put up the fly for the tent. Discovered from other hikers that the latest forecast calls for snow down to the 8,000 elevation day after tomorrow. Our plan to cross over 13,000 plus Forester Pass tomorrow would commit us to being above 10,000 elevation for the duration of our trip. Need to carefully think tonight about what our backup plan is if it does snow. Decided if weather is bad tomorrow, we'll abort and immediately head west to get out of high country. If weather is okay tomorrow, we'll continue on as planned. Then, if storm does come in the day after, we'll abort the climb to Mount Whitney and head further south on the Pacific Crest Trail to Rock Creek and then east out to the Owens Valley over a lower 8,000-foot pass. Day 11. Good news! Woke up to a cold, crisp, but clear day. Not as cold as yesterday, but still started hiking with full complement of clothes. It's becoming a habit. On the initial ascent, heard the cries of a pack of coyotes from across the valley.